And how some of the people there. So when this one is up, that one sleeps, and that one sleeps up. They work it out. There is such a custom, yeah. It's called Thursday night, yeah.
Rabbi, I hope that's a bracha. You have water in my paper.
Mayhem is always a bracha.
Not in my paper.
Don't put it away, let it dry up a little bit. Go back.
I remember my first day.
I wanted to ask you, Taka. Remind me, I want to ask you about the mimer paper that you gave me.
Okay.
I'll tell you something.
When I was supposed to do it my first day, so I just laid out all my papers and notes, everything, and dried them.
Yes, it's that.
Okay, we're ready to start. So in the booklet, we're on page 48. Yes. I don't know what that is. That's B, yeah, 48B. Like in David. So, when it comes to Pesach, every yontif has a theme, like the theme is what is the essence of the yontif all about. When it comes to Pesach, the theme is freedom, liberty. And where do we take this from? Actually, we take it from the Siddur. In the Siddur, when we're davening, when it comes to yontif, every time it's a different yontif, we say a few words which defines the yontif. Like when it comes to Shavuos, we say this is the time of Matan Torah. When it comes to Sukkot, we say this is the time of Simcha. When it comes to Pesach, in the Siddur, we say this is the time of freedom, Cherus, Zman Cherus Seimer. That's the word on the top of the page, of freedom. And of course, here again, we have the big difference between the way we look at the Yetzias Mitzrayim in general and the way we look at it from a Hasidic perspective. In general, we look at it that this is something which happened over 3,300 years ago. And now we're celebrating what happened then. Because if that wouldn't have happened then, we'd still be in trouble today. But we're celebrating something that happened in the past. And when you study Chassidus, we're saying, no, it's happening now. It so happens to be that when it comes to Yetzias Mitzrayim, even in Nigla, even in the revealed part of Torah, it also implies this idea that that's something which is ongoing. So let's look at the next page. This is from the Haggadah, part of the Haggadah. And we say these words, B'chol der v'der, in every generation, Chayiv Adam, a person is obligated. In other words, this is not just a nice little thing. It's a chiyuv, it's an obligation to do what? Liris es atzmaik, to picture yourself, kiluhu yotzim mitzrayim, as if he himself had gone out of Egypt. And the reason for this is, like it said in the first part of the Haggadah, that if Pare wouldn't have had us go out of Mitzrayim, then we'd still be slaves today. Because remember we said that the Jews were in the 49th gate of impurity. If Chas v'Shalom we would stay in Mitzrayim a little bit longer, it would have been irreversible and we would have been slaves to Pare and in the Egyptian culture up to this day. So therefore, in every generation, we have to picture ourselves as if we went out of Mitzrayim. Then we have the Alter Rebbe in Tanya. Let's look at the Alter Rebbe's words. So that's page 51. And this is chapter Mem Zayin, chapter 47 in Tanya. The Alter Rebbe's chapter begins with these words: V'hine, b'chol der v'der, in every generation, b'chol yom v'yom, and every day, chayiv adam liris atzmai, a person is obligated to regard himself and picture himself, kilhu yotza yom mitzrayim, as if he went out on that day from Mitzrayim. So you notice immediately that this is written differently than what it says in the Haggadah. In the Haggadah it says every generation we should consider ourselves as we ourselves went out of Egypt. Every generation. Now the Rebbe adds every day, every day, as if today I went out of Mitzrayim. And of course the Alter Rebbe is not chas v'sholem disagreeing with the Haggadah. What the Alter Rebbe is doing is giving us a deeper insight into the words of the Haggadah. That not only should a person picture himself in general, every generation, as if I went out in this generation, but every single day. So what does that mean? And what's the advantage in picturing? Picturing means something which is not real, and I'm imagining as if it happened. So here the Alter Rebbe explains the first basic explanation, what it means, Yitzias Mitzrayim, in a spiritual sense. So being that it's a very small chapter, we'll do this inside. Not the whole chapter is here, but it's just the beginning part of it. And let's start with these words. In every generation, we're obligated to experience Yitzias Mitzrayim every day. What does that mean? So first of all, we need a little small introduction. And that is, if you look on the sheet that I gave out, page 48, the one that has the whole list, the second thing on the list says Mitzrayim, Gvulim, Meitzar. What does that mean? The word Mitzrayim, even though it's a name of a nation, has another meaning. Mitzrayim means boundaries. Meitzar, Gvul. Gvul means a boundary. Like we have a piece of land, there's a territory, and these are the boundaries. My piece of land ends over here, and over there starts your piece of land. Every country has their boundaries. This is this country, and this marks off where this is the end of the United States of America, and a different country begins. This is the end of this country, and another country begins. So Meitzar or Mitzrayim means a boundary, which is something that limits and sort of restricts. This is as far as you can go. Yitzias Mitzrayim means to go out of those, step out of those boundaries, step out of those limitations. And that's what Alter Rebbe is going to explain here. Yitzias Mitzrayim, what does it mean that every day I should see myself going out of Mitzrayim? Not just to see ourselves, it means to actually experience it. Yitzias Nefesh Olekis Mimaiser Aguf. The Nefesh Olekis is confined in the body, which is the guf. And the guf is mishchad dechivya. Literally, it means the serpent's skin. It's a term that comes from the Zohar. And the serpent is referring to as the nakhosh. We know that the nakhosh, the serpent that convinced Adam and Chava to eat from the tree, that serpent was really klipa, the source of klipa. So when you, in fact, I don't know if you ever heard this before, but you know what the symbol of a medical symbol is? Thing and a snake. If you look at the Hatzalah ambulance, they have the symbol without the snake. They used to have it with the snake, but everyone, as he walked by, he told them to take out the snake because the snake is a symbol of klipa. Also, it could be that in those days it had to do with healing through powers that were more related to Avodah Zarah. A lot of the healing things have to do with idol worship. Even today, you have to be careful when you go to sort of spooky kind of healers, what they're doing. Yeah.
I thought that it was the snake, like, that they looked at in the midbar. No, there was like a snake wrapped on a pole that they looked at in the midbar.
Yes, there was, right. Snake made out of copper. Yeah. But you saw that was a snake on the symbol that.
I thought that's where the medical symbol comes from. No?
I don't know.
I don't think they're that smart.
What?
I don't think they're that smart to take it all the way from.
Well, they do have things from the Bible. They have things that come from the Bible, but yeah, I think so. So So the guf is called Mishcha D'Chai, which is klipa, and it doesn't allow the neshama to shine. It's like you have a bright light, and the bright light is covered by a glass that is tinted glass, dark, and doesn't allow the light to shine. So going out of that galus and and to become united with Hashem. How do we do that? So in general, if a person learns Torah and does mitzvahs, what they're doing is they're freeing themselves from the confinement of the body. The body is blocking them. The body makes them feel separate from Hashem. Then I go ahead and I learn Torah and I do a mitzvah. By doing that, I'm sort of breaking through this barrier and I'm connecting to Hashem. That's in general. Right, but specifically, the Kabbalah, Malchus Shemayim, the Kriya Shema. What's even more specific, that I'm connecting to Hashem and I'm sort of overriding and breaking through the chains of the, is accepting Hashem's Malchus in Shema. When you do that, you're actually explicitly spelling it out that you're accepting Hashem's kingdom. In other words, really every mitzvah is about connecting to Hashem. And that's because that's why the word mitzvah also has the definition of tzafsa v'chiva, which means connection. And in fact, today, I think it's much more known than ever, but this is brought out in Chassidus. Generally speaking, people who didn't study Chassidus never thought of the word mitzvah as connected to commandment. The king commands you to do something, and you have to listen. And why? Because Hashem has his reasons, how this is good for us, it's good for the world. But this concept that mitzvah connects you to Hashem, this is mainly found in Kabbalah and Chassidus, that it's about connecting. So every mitzvah is really connecting to Hashem, but it's not so sort of explicit. But when a person says openly, I am now connecting to Hashem, that's connecting in an explicit way. That's called Kabbalah Soil. That's what Shema is all about. We're saying Hashem Elokeinu, God is my God, nothing else in the world, and Hashem Echad. So this is openly connecting to Hashem. In fact, we do this in the beginning of the day, and we declare our connection to Hashem, and then this empowers us that the rest of the day, when we do mitzvahs or whatever we do, we can be more conscious about connecting to Hashem. As it explained in the previous chapter, chapter 46, where it says and it says this is the meaning of the word Elokeinu, my God, or our God. What does it mean, ours? We own it? What does that mean? It's like it says, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. How come we say that in davening? Wouldn't it be just smoother just to say, Hashem Elokeinu, God our God? Why do we have to specify he's the God of Abraham, God of Yitzchak, God of Yaakov? Why do we have to bring in other human beings in a declaration which is about me and Hashem? It's almost like people ask a question about a Rebbe. Why bring in a Rebbe? It's just me and Hashem. And the truth is we do this every day in davening. Instead of just saying Hashem Elokeinu, we say Elokei Aviseinu and Elokei Avram. That's not enough. Elokei Yitzchak. That's not enough. Elokei Yaakov. What does that mean? It means, I explained before, the Fishaya bottle, the Nichla, the Yichud, Oir, and Sab, Baruch Hu. It was called Avram's God and Yitzchak's God and Yaakov's God, meaning that they were so connected that Hashem and them became one. And the difference is, page 703, the difference is Avram Zachala b'maisav. Avram merited for this to happen because he put so much work into it that he disconnected from Avodah Zarah, from all the foreign ideas that were going on in his generation. He advanced in holiness from level to level, from degree to degree. In his avodah was mainly love for Hashem. Like it says, Vayisa Abraham, Halach v'Nasaya HaNegba. Abraham Avinu journeyed, and he went on and on into the south. Generally speaking, the south represents where it's warm. The north is where it's cold. So the difference between the south and north is chesed and gvura. South is chesed and north is gvura. And when it says that Avraham Avinu was going in the direction of the south, because his avodah was mainly chesed, ava. Yitzchak avodah was gevura, and Avraham Avinu's avodah was chesed. He served Hashem mainly with love. And what does it mean? He was journeying. It means he was constantly advancing, going higher and higher and higher in his level of love for Hashem. And the same with the other others. They had to work on it. But we, Yerusha Matana Hilana, we have this as a gift, and an inheritance. Hashem gave us the Torah. Hashem invested his wisdom and his will into the Torah, and his wisdom and his will are they're united with his essence in the most complete way. Which means when Hashem gave us the Torah, in essence, he gave us himself. He invested himself in the Torah, then he gave us the Torah. So in a sense, he invested himself through the Torah and gave himself to us. So we have him. Like it says in the Zohar on the pasuk, "V'yikchu li truma." You should take to me truma. And basically, the Zohar says, when it says you should take to me truma, it shouldn't say you should take to me truma. It said you should take truma, bring it to me. What does it say? V'yikchu li. So the Zohar says that it means v'yikchu li, you're taking me. Li means me. Hashem is saying, by doing the mitzvah of truma, you are taking me. In fact, the word truma also represents all of Torah, because truma has in it the letters of Torah. There's a taf, a reish, and a hey. And the mem are the 40 days and 40 nights that it took for Hashem to give the Torah. So basically it's saying here that when you learn Torah and you study Torah, you're taking me, v'yikchu li. And then the Alter Rebbe, we don't have the whole chapter here, but the Alter Rebbe goes on to say that this is the reason why there's a mitzvah every day to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim. And really, there's a separate mitzvah every day to read the Shema. But the Chachamim, when they made the davening, they set it up that the part that we say to remember Mitzrayim should be part of the Shema. So Shema is the first part, Shema Yisrael. Then is the second part, which is V'hayim Shemoah. The third part about the tzitzis, we say because it finishes off, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I'm God Yahweh that took you out of Egypt. So the Rebbe asked, why did they put that mitzvah of going out of Mitzrayim into the Shema? And the answer is, once you understand the deeper spiritual meaning of going out of Mitzrayim, you see that it's mamish identical with the whole idea of Shema. Shema is that I'm telling Hashem, I am yours, I belong to you, and I'm disconnecting from things that separate me from you. I'm becoming one with you. Shema is saying, it's like saying, I pledge allegiance to Hashem. I am yours and you are mine, and I say this in the Shema. And that is what Yetzias Mitzrayim is, going out of my personal Mitzrayim. So what does it mean that you do this every day? So it's almost like saying, okay, every day I go to Mitzrayim. After a while, I go back into Mitzrayim, and tomorrow I go out again. Tomorrow, I go out of Mitzrayim. At the end of the day, I'm back in Mitzrayim. So tomorrow, I go out again. No, it's not part of the plan. It's not part of the plan to go back into Mitzrayim. But what it does mean is that if, for example, one day I went out of Mitzrayim, and how did that express itself? By me letting go of some sort of negative character trait or negative thing, and I no longer do it. So I'm no longer limited by that. Tomorrow, I move ahead. I go out of another Mitzrayim. And the next day, out of another Mitzrayim. And that's how a person grows from day to day. That means every day, there's something that I could work on myself to get out of my personal Mitzrayim. And that's Yetzias Mitzrayim. What about us, that we're all perfect already, and there's nothing more to do? That's the problem. And we can't say it doesn't apply to us because we're such big tzaddikim, because it applies to everybody. Every Jew is obligated. What do we do? This is a real big problem. So the answer is, there's two kinds of Yetzias Mitzrayim. There's Yetzias Mitzrayim going at it from Klipa to Kedusha. And there's also a mitzrayim, which is within kedusha. What? Yeah, you thought you finished already. That's it. Adam mitzrayim. No. In other words, if a person, let's say when a person is first becoming from, then they can actually experience these mitzrayim in a very practical way. One day they start lighting Shabbos candles. Another day they go make hair kiddush. Another day they decide to go to shul. Every move they make where they're progressing in Yiddishkeit is Yitzias Mitzrayim, something new that they do. Then you get to a point where Baruch Hashem, you're doing everything, and you're no longer going away from. They have more subtle things. Stop speaking lashon hara. I don't get angry. I won't be so selfish, and all these kind of things. But what if a person got past that stage also? So if we understand the word Mitzrayim, it doesn't only mean Egypt. It means limitations, borders, something which limits me. So there's always room to grow. So what does that mean? Let's look at the next page, which is from chapter 15 of Tanya. Everyone in this room definitely learned chapter 15 of Tanya, but let's do it now in context of Yitzias Mitzrayim. So that's page 52. I don't know if you ever heard this story, but there was somebody named Rabbi Gurari, actually the grandfather of Mr. Slunim, and he had a very close relationship with the Rebbe. He once traveled somewhere, and where he traveled, he went to the airport, something happened, and the flight was delayed. The flight was late, you have to go back home. Apparently, he asked the Rebbe that it must be some source somewhere, I don't know, maybe Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, one of these not unusual things, but it says that if you're on a trip and you start traveling, don't go back home. What should you do? If I remember correctly, the Rebbe told me you should learn a Perek Tanya. When you learn a Perek Tanya, you become a new person. If you become a new person and you go back home, in other words, you're a different person, it's fine. So even if you learn chapter 15, is that the way you heard the story? Yeah. If you learn chapter 15, become a new person so we can learn it again. There's a pasuk where it says, you will return and see the difference between a righteous person and a rasha, and you'll see the difference between Oved Elokim, somebody that serves Hashem, and Shalei Avadei, someone who does not serve him. Turn the page. On the surface, it seems like the pasuk is repeating itself. To see the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha, someone who serves him does not serve him. Why would the Torah repeat itself? And the answer is it's not repeating itself. It's two different things. There's one category, one set, which is a tzaddik and a rasha, and there's another set, which is two people that are both okay, they're both tzaddikim, but one is considered serving Hashem, one not. Page 216. This is chapter 15. The tzaddik, what is the difference between someone who serves Hashem and the first category, which you refer to as a tzaddik? The word oved is, as far as grammar is concerned, it's present. And is describing someone who's presently laboring, presently working hard to serve Hashem, which is Mochemes HaYetzahara. He still has to struggle with the Yetzahara. There's Gaber Olav to overcome him, and to chase him away from the small city, which is the body. The Yetzahara is trying to get into my head, trying to get into my heart, trying to get my hands to do things they're not supposed to, trying to get my mouth, my feet, my eyes, my ears to be in places they're not supposed to. So I'm chasing it away. That's the war that's going on. That the Yetzirah shouldn't go into the body, and he succeeds. This is really a very difficult avodah. It's a constant battle, and this person is a beinoni. That's amazing. That's a beinoni, a person that is so disciplined and so strong that his Yetzer Hara never gets to get into one of my organs of the body and make that organ do something against Hashem. What's it tzaddik? How's it tzaddik different? Page 270. Aval tzaddik nekor eved Hashem b'shem Torah. Tzaddik is not oived but eved. The difference in grammar is oived means someone who's working now, and eved is a title. It's a certain title and status that the person has. It's called an Eved Hashem. And this is K'mei Shem Chacham. You call somebody a Chacham or a Melech. It's not something that's describing something that is doing now. It's a title that they've earned. They became a Melech. They have become a wise person. Kach, the same thing with the tzaddik. It's a person kvar ovad v'gomer legamri avodas hamechomer hara. He no longer has to struggle, and he doesn't have any more confrontations with this ra. That he got rid of everything. So now there's no wars anymore. So he already did the avodah, and now he's relaxed, just serving Hashem. That's the difference between the tzaddik and the beinoni. And now he's going to say that in a beinoni itself, there are also these two levels. One is called Oved Elokim, and one is called Lo Yavod. Here's a person that's called Lo Yavod, but he's a beinoni, not a Russian. How could a person who's on the level of a beinoni, which means no averos, not in thought, not in speech, not in action, and yet we're saying that he's called Lo Yavod, he's not serving Hashem? So the answer is, this is a person, he never violated anything in Torah, not even a light thing. So on one hand, in terms of loisasa, the negative commandments, he fulfilled them all. In terms of positive commandments, also, Gam Kim Kol HaMitzvah Shef Shel V'Kaiman, he observes all the mitzvahs, even Talmud Torah, which is so hard that every free opportunity and moment to learn, I study Torah. Even that is something which is difficult. He does that too. So there's not anything going on in his life that's negative. Like Posik, Pumim, Girsa, like Rabbah. He never stops learning. So why is he called Lo Yavod, not serving Hashem? He's serving Hashem in the most amazing way. The answer is because there's no struggle. There's no war. He doesn't have to battle with his evil inclination. To defeat him through the Hashem Hamer al Nefesh Elikish B'Meich Hashalat Avalev, through using the godly soul's light that's in the mind to control the heart. Why doesn't have to have any war anymore? His Yetzer Hara doesn't stand up against him to oppose him and to stop him from learning and davening. So therefore, there's no war necessary. Where do you buy such Yetzer Haras? How does that happen? So he says, Kugoyin, for example, someone that's masmid b'limudei b'tiva mitodase, somebody who loves learning by nature. They're the type of person, they call them in English a bookworm. They're always in their books and they're studying. The Havdalah, there are people not connected to Yiddishkeit. They're always reading books, whether it's science, whether it's just novels, but they're reading and reading and reading, and they don't have to do anything else. They can sit and read for hours all day long. This is a person that sits and studies Torah all day long. That's his temperament. That's just his nature. It is not hyper. He doesn't have to run around and jump around. We know most people are those that sit down and learning for an hour or two, they have to get up and do something else. I remember once hearing from someone, an older man who was actually a Rav, a rabbi of a shul, and he had gone to a Farbrengen of the Rebbe, and everybody goes to Farbrengen and they walk away with something else that inspires him. So he said he was inspired more than anything else, and the Rebbe is sitting for 6 hours and just speaking. So when I talk for 6 hours, I take off my hat, I put on my hat, I take off my jacket, I take some papers, I do something, just sit for 6 hours like this and talk. He was going out of his mind. How's that possible? So normally people have a certain hyperness to them, some more, some less. But this person is a person who is very morish chera. In other words, that's his nature, that's his temperament. He just can sit him down someplace and he'll sit there for the rest of the day. He doesn't have any conflicts when it comes to issues of tznius. He's just a very cold, frigid person. He's not attracted to women. He's not attracted to that. And it's not a mayhem. He just follows what it says in Torah. It's not a problem. What about other things? He's not into other kind of worldly pleasures. He naturally lacks that drive for enjoyment, for pleasure. People want to go on trips. People want to travel, want to do something with sports, entertainment. I'm not suggesting this guy for a shidduch. That's obvious. This guy is a very cold, dry individual. But for learning, it's a good thing. He's cold and dry, so he doesn't have any fights with his Yetzirah. He sits and learns all day. And therefore, Ein Tzarech, this person doesn't have to go through the process which a Beinani normally needs to do. This Beinin to think about the greatness of Hashem, to really focus, to really concentrate, work hard, and to see to it that what I understand in my head should give birth to feelings in my heart. And that'll help me, L'hishomer, to be guarded, not to do any Averis, and to have a love for Hashem in my heart. Eladailoi, I went a little bit faster to the last line on the bottom. Dailoi, for him it's enough. Abba Masuteres, that hidden love that everybody has. Every year is called Oyevei Shmecho, that we love Hashem. Let's turn the page. And that's enough for him because there's no, it's like in a sense, like in outer space, you don't need to do much. You just push something like this and what happens? There's no gravity. So it just keeps moving. That's how he is. He has Abba Masuteres, this hidden love. He just gives a little push and that's it. There's no Yetzirah that's stopping him. He's not attracted to anything. He's not distracted by anything. So he's doing all the wonderful things, but without any effort, there's no conflict involved. And that's why he's not an oivet. This hidden love. Okay, now we have to understand why. There's two questions we're going to talk about. Number one, why is he? But he's still doing Torah mitzvahs. Let's call him oivet. He's working. The second question is, so what does Hashem care? Hashem only wants us to struggle? He wants us to be working hard and to be fighting. What does Hashem care? Okay, this is a beautiful guy. He's davening, learning, doing mitzvahs, not doing anything wrong. So here the Alter Rebbe says, this is the key answer to this subject. Because what's really motivating him is Ava Zuam Suteres, the hidden love. That's what's motivating him. He didn't generate love in his head and heart by meditation. He has the natural love, but he has no opposition. So like it's in outer space, there's no gravity. So the natural love carries him all the way through. Like what's the difference if I want to throw this pen up 100 feet or I want to drop it 100 feet? What's the difference? If I drop it, I don't have to put any energy in it. If I'm on a roof and I want to drop it, I just let go. And I'm not really the one that's making it fall. I'm just not stopping it. If I don't stop, it just falls, gravity pulls it down. When I throw it up, I'm going against gravity, so my energy is pushing it up. This guy is not working against anything. His Yetzirah is not stopping him. So basically, it's just the Abba Masuteres. The Abba Masuteres is not his. Hashem gave it to us as an inheritance. So basically what's happening is learning, davening, doing mitzvahs, but in a sense, it's not my avodah. And that's why he says that it's not considered real avodah. I'm not working. So what do we see from this? What we see from this is the whole purpose of creation, we've said this many times, is Hashem wanted a dwelling place in this world, correct? And there's one line that always needs to be added, not just Hashem wanted a dwelling place in this world. He wanted a dwelling place in this world through what? Through our avodah, humans' avodah. And therefore, malachim, angels who are infinitely greater than us, that's not what gives Hashem the true pleasure. Only humans, because we're human and we have a Yetzirah and we're in a physical world and there's a lot of concealment and a lot of challenges and we overcome it, that's the main thing. But a malach is programmed to be that way. So what about a person that serves Hashem because he's programmed? It's not really, he's not putting anything in. So in essence, he is not fulfilling the purpose of creation in a certain way.
So the tzaddikim, no?
What?
So the tzaddikim.
Yeah, but the tzaddikim worked hard to get there.
So who doesn't?
Who doesn't? If a person has this kind of a nature. And by the way, even the tzaddik, we'll soon see. Let's look at the next line. What about a person that's not that way? When they were growing up, they were not this kind of a person. But hirgul atzmai, he got into the habit to learn, and nasa hergul teva sheni. We know there's a rule that habits become second nature. So maybe in the beginning, I had a hard time with this, with that, with the other thing. But now it's natural to me that I'm learning, and there's nothing that's stopping me. Also, now all I need is this little bit of ava, hidden love, and that generates movement, and there's nothing stopping me. The only thing that he make him considered oived if he learns more than what he's used to learning. And for this, the Alter Rebbe brings this famous Gemara. The Gemara says, "Who is the oived Elokim? Someone who learns and reviews his Gemara 101 times. Lo yavadai is someone who only learns 100 times. Wow. You study Torah, you review it 100 times, you're not an Oived Elokim. You do 101 times, you're Oived Elokim. Why? The Alter Rebbe says, Rabbi mayhem, in their days, they were studying the Torah by heart. It was all studied orally, not from a book. So everything they studied, they had to review 100 times. And therefore, to learn 100 times required no effort. It was natural. Imagine you're doing this in the first grade, in the second grade, in the third grade, in the 10th grade, in the 11th grade. It's natural to you to review everything 100 times. And therefore, it's lo yavadei, because the person is not going against their nature. In fact, the Gemara brings a mashal, mishuk shel chamarim, from the market of donkey drivers. Just like we have today, you could rent a car. In those days, they would rent donkeys. How much does it cost to rent a donkey? It costs 1 zuz for 10 parsi, that's Persian miles. But if you want to go 11 parsi, one more, it's double the amount, 2 zuz. Why? If 10 zuz is for 1 mile, no, it's 10 zuz. It's a zuz for 10 miles. So it should be a zuz and 1/10 of a zuz for 11 miles. Why is it another whole zuz? And the answer is because this extra mile takes more energy out of the donkey than all the 10 miles, because a donkey in those days wasn't used to traveling more than 10 miles in a day. So even though it's a little bit, and the same thing is Baruchnius. The 101th time, which is more than what I used to, shkula keneged kulam. This is equal to all the 100 times. And not only equal, it's even greater than that. That makes the person Oived Elokim. Because in order to do that, it requires l'shanas teva regilus. He has to change his habit. He has to do something. He has to motivate himself with love for Hashem. That'll make him willing to step out of his boundaries and do something which is not natural for him. And that is the true Avodah. Then it's called Oived. So we see an interesting thing that somebody does something. It's a hairline of what I did. But to do this little hairline, for some people, just to light Shabbos candles, they thought about it for 10 weeks before they were ready to do it, even though it's nothing major, just lighting candles. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Am I crazy? Am I normal? Is it right? Is it wrong? Finally, they do it. That little act is in some ways more precious to Hashem than someone who's learning Torah for 10 hours a day, because there's no going out of my boundaries. So therefore, this is the inyan with Tzis Mitzrayim. Even a person who's in Kedusha, I learn a certain amount of hours a day. To add to that is Tzis Mitzrayim. I give a certain amount of tzedakah. To go more than what I'm used to is Tzis Mitzrayim. I go out of my way to invite a guest or to be kind to somebody. If I go out of my way more than what I'm used to, that is Tzis Mitzrayim. So therefore, we can understand the concept of Tzis Mitzrayim within Kedusha. It's not going from bad to good, but from good to better. And the Nakuda is stepping out of my limitations, out of my restrictions. And we all know that this is really the hardest thing to do. When somebody says, I know this is what you want me to do, I know this is the right thing to do, I can't. What do you answer? They say I can't.
You don't want
Ooh, how did you know that?
to- Are you alone?
Baruch HaKodesh. The famous story with the Baal Shem Tov, that he was once teaching his students, and as they were teaching, the door opens up, and a peasant, a Russian peasant, opens the door and says, "My wagon just broke. Could somebody come out and help me?" Try to imagine the Rebbe is having an intimate discussion with certain Chassidim, and someone walks in, "Come help me with the wagon." So they didn't want to be nasty to him. They just said, "No, we can't." So he walked out, slammed the door, and he shouted in Russian. I'm not going to say it with you guys sitting here, but he shouted in Russian. He said, "You could, you don't want to."
Ты можешь, не хочешь.
That's it. Можешь, nakhosh. So what happened was the Baal Shem Tov says everything's hashgacha pratis. What could you learn from this? When a person says, "I can't," what they're really saying is, "I don't want to." Because where there's a will, there's a way. And somebody once showed me an interesting thing, that somewhere in the Chumash it says, "I don't want, I can't." And the Targum, which translates the Chumash in Aramaic, says, "I don't want." I forgot where it was after a little bit of research. In other words, that's part of not, I can't because I'm not used to it, because it's hard. It's something which goes against my nature. And making that, of course, we have to know when this applies. Sometimes people do things that they're not meant to do, and it does more damage. So we have to also be careful. But if I know that this is what I'm meant to do, but it's hard, that hardship is Yitzias Mitzrayim. And that's why it says we should go, and we could go out of Mitzrayim every single day. Okay. So good Shabbos to everybody. And remember that this Shabbos is a special Shabbos. We take out 3 Torah scrolls, time that your tefillas could be heard by Hashem. In honor of Rosh Chodesh